I believe that we will get through this challenging period now on higher prices. On the other side of this, I've said publicly that I think we'll be back to substantial disinflation. But most importantly, I think we've got the Warsh Fed now. It's a new day at the Fed.
Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent responding to today's inflation data, forecasting improvement under new Federal Reserve Chair. The CPI inflation data today, this is CNBC, the 12-month level for headline inflation was the highest since May 2023. For core, the annual level was the peak since November 23. While the annual rates were in line with forecasts, the soft monthly readings could provide some hope that the burst in prices over the previous month had begun to ease. We told you earlier the Federal Reserve's preferred inflation gauge jumped in the month of April, as we're saying there, and that has some economists concerned. Let's talk about it all with Maria Bartiromo, host of Mornings with Maria and Wall Street Futures. She joins us from the Reagan Economic Forum in Simi Valley, California. Maria, good evening. Thanks for being here. What do you make of what the Treasury Secretary said and the analysis of those numbers?
Good morning, Brett. Good to see you. Look, I think that the president is walking this balance of, on the one hand, finishing the job in Iran and ensuring that he does away with a potential nuclear terrorist, and on the other hand, getting oil prices down before the midterm elections. And I think this is the balance that continues to be tough for this president. Yes, the numbers were worse than expected today. And what we are learning is that inflation is going beyond just the price of oil. And the Strait of Hormuz is open and free flowing so that the more oil on the market and the normalization of what is taking place right now can actually send prices lower. The president continues to say that gas and oil will be down in the coming months, is what you just heard from the Treasury Secretary. But we're watching it. We're seeing, because overall, this is going to impact consumer spending, which is 2/3 of economic growth.
You know, as you look live at the crude oil pricing, it has gone down just in some of this news, and we've watched it up and down over recent days. And then you look at the market, Maria, and trying to kind of divine where the market is and all of these companies that have record profits, and we've seen record closes in the market. You know, putting that all together with where we are as an economy overall, it's kind of, for some people at home, tough to balance.
You're right, but Brett, things are going well. I mean, look, the market, the message of the market, as you just said, has been confidence in the president's agenda and confidence in the earnings backdrop. I mean, when you consider the fact that the NASDAQ is up better than 27% since the end of March, and you consider the fact that the Dow, the S&P, and the NASDAQ have all hit record highs in the last couple of weeks and months since March 31st, you have to believe that the message of the market is that we believe the president will get this done, will pull it off, and that is get prices down in the coming months while also completing the mission in Iran. So when you look at the backdrop of the economy, consumers are still spending. Yes, inflation is worrisome, and we're watching to see how much that hits consumers, but so far, economic growth is there. I spoke with Kevin Hassett a couple of weeks ago, and he was talking about 4, 5, even 6% real money. And you're also seeing an optimism with regard to earnings. And you're not really seeing companies say, oh, you know, costs are a problem yet. So we'll see if the guidance from corporate America continues to be as rosy as it has been in this most recent quarterly reporting season.
Yeah, speaking of which, you have an exclusive interview with Jamie Dimon, and it'll be interesting to hear, you know, his thoughts, especially with the new Fed chair and Kevin Warsh, and what he expects out of the Fed.
100%, yes, because Kevin Warsh has a problem. I mean, it's not what we expected. You know, when we were talking about Kevin Warsh coming in as chairman, we were talking about the likelihood that the Fed would lower interest rates. That's looking less and less likely over the near term as inflation is going higher. Kevin Warsh will have to decide, am I going to hike rates? Am I going to sit back and wait for inflation to come down? I don't think Warsh wants to raise interest rates right now, but increasingly, you're seeing the market expect the next move in the Fed being a hike. I'm not expecting a hike in interest rates from Kevin Warsh's Federal Reserve anytime soon. However, it all depends on where inflation goes. That's why the president has this urgent balance right now. Get rid of the issue in Iran, get rid of the nuclear threat, but get those oil and gas prices lower before the midterms and before it really hits consumers hard. One thing that the Fed chief has said as he looks at the backdrop, Kevin Warsh, he said he wants to cut the Federal Reserve's balance sheet. In other words, all of the assets that the Fed owns is up to $9 trillion. He's got to get that number down, and that means selling assets. So we'll see how that impacts the major banks. Like
overview of what Fox News is and does. What it is. The Fox News channel, FNC, is a major American cable television news and political commentary channel based in New York City. Launched in 1996 by media mogul Rupert Murdoch, it has grown to become the most watched cable news network in the United States. What it does, it provides 24-hour news coverage, breaking news alerts, and political analysis. Its programming is generally divided between daytime reporting, hard news, and primetime opinion blocks, which are well known for presenting a conservative political viewpoint. Key platforms. Beyond cable TV, they operate Fox News Radio, the Fox News website/app, and streaming services like Fox Nation and Fox One. If you had a specific question in mind, such as looking up a recent news story, finding a specific host, or learning about the network's history, just let me know and I can get that information for you.